Hello, welcome back. So, this is the cup that we are going to be making, but first I need to go over a little bit of the reason why I did not have a video for you fine folks on Wednesday of last week. So my husband decided that we were going to rent this particular trailer and drive it all the way to Arizona to visit his father. We were going to spend 2 nights and then spend 3 days there and then 2 nights back. So we loaded this thing up and got it all ready to go. We spent 1 night after a horrible thunderstorm and couldn't see 2 feet in front of us. Had to pull over on the side of the road for 30 minutes. Night in Kerrville. We rolled into our campsite at about 10:30. That was fun. The next morning, we drove down the road and we got flagged down by someone next to us that said, "You have a blowout." So we drove to the nearest gas station, stayed there for about 3 hours and finally got it fixed. Then we drove to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and we enjoyed this beautiful sunrise and got ready for the day and put all of the blown tire story behind us and drove down the freeway. Then someone flagged us down again and said that we have a blown tire. So, yes, that is the same side of the same trailer, 2 tires on the same side. Needless to say, that is why I did not upload a video last week. Okay, enough of that. Here is what we're doing. We're using this Cactus vinyl from 95 Vinyl to put on the bottom half of the cup. And then we're going to be using this clear decal from Alana's Gifts. And then we're going to be using this glitter is Shatter from the Glitter Ranch. And it's a custom mix. So when I prep a box, when I have a customer, I put what I'm doing to the cup, and then I put their name or whatever. I was putting a YT for YouTube on there, but I would put like Erica on there if it was for Erica or whatnot. I take the plastic off and I take the lid off and put everything in the box. And these are from Maker Flow Crafts. These are actually prepped and sanded cups. Very cool. And then I just put the box away on a shelf. Now I'm going over this part here because I was actually originally going to use a 20 ounce, and I measured it and I got it all marked up and everything. And then I realized that the decal was like really big, and so I decided that that was not going to be the size was not going to be good for that. So just be aware of that. That's kind of why I put this in here, just to be like, I was like, no, that's way too big for a 20 ounce. So since this cup was already prepped and sanded, all I had to do was put the tape on the inside. I was putting it on my shirt to kind of unstick it a little bit so it wasn't so sticky. And then I just kind of stick tape right around the edge. That keeps paint from getting on the inside, and that keeps you from having to do so much cleanup and work later on after you spray paint it. So all I did was spray paint the top white, and I didn't really even it didn't need to be like absolutely perfect, but I just wanted to kind of get that base being white there. But the bottom part we are going to be doing in the vinyl, so it didn't matter to paint that bottom part. So here I was just making sure like where how long the cup was and how big the decal was, and just kind of where I wanted to put it so that I would have just enough room for the piece, like line on the middle, you know, like a vinyl stripe on the middle to kind of separate the two. So I was just analyzing my sizing there just to make sure, you know, that I was in the right, you know, idea of what I was doing there. So I measured the bottom part there, and I just used my just my little paper cutter for this, because I didn't need to open up my Cricut or anything, because we're going to be kind of cutting and you know, slicing at the top and at the bottom and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to get a basic measurement so that we could wrap it around. But what I was also doing here was I was kind of trying to figure out where I wanted the design. So I was like, if I do it this much, I'm gonna be half of a cactus here, and if I do it this much there, I'm gonna have, so in designs like this or vinyl pieces like this, you kind of want to just figure out exactly where is going to be the right spot for you to cut it. So here I was just trying to figure out which side I wanted the vinyl to end up on. If I wanted I thought that was probably the best placement for it to be less noticeable on the back side where the two ends meet. And I thought that way was the best looking way. So I just started as straight as I could in the very beginning. This was a tapered cup on the bottom part. So I knew it wasn't going to be exactly straight, but I was going to be able to cut it to make it look as straight as possible. And I just worked it around the bottom of the cup there. I was trying to keep it as straight as possible and kind of stretching it down so that it wouldn't be so off from the other side. But I knew I was going to be cutting the top part there and cutting the bottom part. So I just kind of worked it down. I just kind of kept pulling and stretching and kind of working it so that it would somewhat meet up pretty decently, because I wanted those two cactuses there on that line to match up as much as we could. So I trimmed the bottom off. I did not want to do the whole stretching and pulling to the end, but what I was going to do at the bottom was tape it off and paint it anyway, so I wasn't too concerned about how straight and all of that it was. And so here what I decided to do was take a piece of tape, painter's tape, and I made it as straight as I could all the way around and meeting up on the other side so that I could cut right on that edge of that vinyl so that we could remove those kind of two pieces that were off from each other on the backside, but also to kind of straighten everything out as much as possible. So I did take my time with this, really went slow and kind of followed that line on that tape so that it could be as perfect as possible. But we are going to put a vinyl strip around there, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but starting off with a straight line is good. So here I am taping the vinyl part off, and I'm taping right along that line that we just cut so that we can epoxy this top part and glitter it. I did hit this with my heat gun just a little bit so that I would not have to use very much epoxy, and I just put my finger in there one little time and used that little bit. Now I made sure that I kind of got the edge there, just so that we can make sure that all the glitter was getting from the top to the bottom. So here I'm using the big spout on the glitter so that we could pour as much of this on there as we could. Now this shatter here is very similar to some other of that, like a cellophane type of stuff that you can crinkle up, and it's kind of iridescent or whatever. It's the same type of I guess texture or material, I guess, but Becky has cut this in such a small size that it actually works out so much better than those big chunky pieces that you get in those other versions. So after I sprinkled it with all of that shatter, I went back through with rainbow ice. Now, rainbow ice is it has an iridescent color to it, but it's a little bit lighter. It's not so crazy iridescent. So I really loved just kind of being able to fill in here and give it a little bit more of a completed look that way. So after I epoxied that and put the glitter on, I took the tape off because you do not want to leave that tape on there. It will cure to it, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that it gets taken off of there. Now after that, I take my parchment paper and very carefully roll it in that to kind of flatten it down. Now, like I said before, the cut of this is so much smaller that it doesn't need as much, but you definitely want to make sure that you roll this in that parchment paper and just clean everything off and get ready to seal it with our polyacrylic. So here I taped off the vinyl because you don't want to get polyacrylic on your vinyl because it will dry, but it'll be like a, it just gets like these thick drops on there, and you don't want that. So I just tape it off and just focus right along the glitter line there and all the way up to the top. Now the reason that I seal this is I want a really good seal because I do not want that glitter moving down into my white perfect vinyl that I have here with these cactus. I want the two to be separated and to stay in their little spot as much as possible, if that makes sense. And after you get it all doused, make sure you remove that tape because once again, you don't want that to seal on there and then you have a mess trying to get that tape off of there. So this is the very first layer of epoxy. Now, the reason that I'm going over this is I want to make sure that you kind of watch and see how I do this. Now, the very first part of the epoxy is going to go on the bottom. Now, I am very tediously making sure that anything I see, any kind of stray glitter, any kind of dirt, dust, little fibers or anything like that that are going to show up on that white vinyl, I just make sure at this moment, this is the very first layer, you want to focus your attention on that very first layer so that you're making sure that it is clean and as pretty as possible. After that, it kind of gets a little bit easier, but that very first layer with the glitter and all of that, you just want to make sure you're really focusing on doing these separately. So as you can see, I am just going up to that line of that glitter. I am trying not to get my finger in that glitter because I don't want to drag it down into my white vinyl. So I've done the bottom part and now I am focused on the glitter part. Now I'm not going to take my glove and put it anywhere in that white while I'm messing with the glitter. So this very first layer, if you really focus on doing that, then you will kind of be a little bit, you'll be kind of good to go for the rest of your layers, right? So if you get that first layer nice and clean, then it's kind of easy sailing after that. And I just continue to just go right along that edge there. I am making sure that I'm not getting any glitter along the edge. I'm scraping it off. Just make sure that I'm keeping these two areas separate while I'm epoxying them for this very first layer. So at this point, this has 2 layers of epoxy, and I am just cleaning up my rim, taking my old box cutter that I got at Walmart, and I'm just trimming on the inside and trimming on the top side. Now, this is crucial to making sure that you're just kind of keeping, as long as you're keeping the rim and the cup as clean as possible while you go along, it just saves you so much time in the end to have to try to clean everything up and then worry that you can't clean it up or that you can't get the paint off or whatever. So taking those little steps in the beginning just save you so much headache and time in the end after the cup is done. So I just went around the cup here and sanded down where I felt like it needed to. I have 2 layers of epoxy, so it really didn't need that much. But every once in a while, this, you get a little bubble or you get something that needs to be sanded down. So I just went around the top and the bottom and figured out exactly where it needed to be kind of smoothed out a little bit. So here in this one little spot, I actually had to sand down in the front. So I was just finding the center there. I was putting the back side in the center, and I had that little sanded spot right there. What I was going to show you was a quick little tip. You don't want to put a clear thing like this on top of a sanded piece. So there are other ways you can do the spray sealer, but I didn't want to go outside because it's been raining for like a month here in Texas. And so I just use a little bit of Mod Podge and I rubbed it on there and I used my heat gun and voila, it's like it never was sanded. So I just wanted to show you that quick little tip. So I got this clear cast decal from Alana's gift shop, and I will definitely put the link down below. She is super sweet. I follow her on TikTok, and I saw her little stickers, so I went on and bought several of them. So you will definitely be seeing some more things done with these. So I just trimmed off the edge of that and got it ready to stick it on there. Now what I was going to do here was tape off the bottom and paint it white. So I just taped off kind of wherever the end of the vinyl was, the lowest piece that was cut there, and then decided I was going to take it outside and do a little spray painting and make that whole bottom there white. I went ahead and taped off all the way up to the glitter part. I figured that was far enough in that, just in that vinyl part that was epoxied. I didn't take it all the way to I just took it all the way to the glitter is what I did, but I didn't take it all the way up to the top of the cup. So I got the bottom painted there, removed all of my tape, and now we are ready to put our decal on. So these are really neat. They are just like water slides, but they're already sticky. They're already sealed. You don't have to do anything but take them off the backing and put them on the cup. All I did was take a little weeding tool there and just kind of popped a few bubbles. It really wasn't that many, but I was just kind of checking it out to make sure that it looked good. So I put one more layer of epoxy. Now, I didn't actually mean to put another layer of epoxy. I had actually totally forgot that I was going to put a piece of vinyl on the middle there. So I just went ahead and epoxied this, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need to put a little piece there. So you do not have to epoxy after this, but you can if you want. I did. It was no big deal, but you could absolutely put this vinyl piece on there with that clear cast decal on there. Once you've done the sanding and you have it all prepped and ready, you could totally put this stripe on there. So I just took some like, it's kind of almost like 3D, and I actually, this was a strip of something that another cup that will be coming down the road. It was actually a leftover one of the little strips, and so I was like, oh, I could use that for this. This would be really cool. So it actually, I really like the way it turned out. It really matched kind of all the colors and everything that were going on there. So because this is a holographic metallic vinyl, I'm definitely going to cover this in Mod Podge to avoid those bubbles that you will get. So all I did was take Mod Podge and just rubbed it all the way around. And it's simple as that. So one final layer of epoxy, and there it is. I made this for my wonderful little trip that I was going to Arizona, and I was so excited about my little cactus cup. And I was so excited to share with y'all in the moment of where we were going and what was going to happen. But anyways, it was an adventure. we enjoyed our time. We had a nice little family time, and I enjoyed my little cup all throughout my week away from home. I hope you did too. Join my group, and I'll see you next time.